revealed how this incredible grandmother transformed her family's life after a shocking insult. Martha always wore her heart on her sleeve. In her small Midwestern town, she was known not just for her pies that melted in your mouth but also for her contagious smile that could warm even the coldest day. A widow, she worked 2 jobs to support her daughter Emily and her young grandson, Jake. Martha poured her love into her baking as she knew a warm pie could mean so much more than just dessert. One sunny afternoon, the town buzzed with excitement during the annual picnic. Families gathered under the big oak trees, laughter mingling with the scent of grilled burgers and freshly baked pies. Martha set up her booth, her table adorned with peach cobbler and apple pie, her heart swelling with pride. But it was then that the newcomer arrived. Laura, the wife of the town's newest tycoon. With a dismissive sweep of her gaze, Laura set her sights on Martha's weathered apron and the wrinkles tracing her smile. "How quaint," Laura sneered, "still baking in those old clothes. I guess not everyone can afford to show up in style." The words sliced through the air like a sharp knife, silencing the laughter. Martha's heart sank, her warm smile faltering as she felt the sting of ridicule wash over her. The townsfolk hushed, glancing between Martha and Laura. But the damage was done. Martha felt the weight of judgment pressing down on her, and the world around her blurred. She worried not just about herself but for Emily and Jake. What would they think of their family's struggles? That heated moment shattered Martha's spirit, casting a long shadow over her heart. Back home, as her daughter struggled to provide for Jake, an internal conflict brewed within Emily. She loved her family, yet the allure of acceptance in better circles beckoned her away like a forbidden fruit. Would leaving behind their small-town roots liberate her or break her entirely? A seed of doubt began to sprout in her heart. Determined not to let the insult diminish their love, Martha embarked on a mission. She organized bake sales with her signature recipes and sought to involve Emily and Jake in community service projects. But instead of the unity she hoped for, misunderstandings brewed like a storm cloud. Emily began to feel smothered, while Jake sensed the tension, leaving them all feeling more distant than ever. Soon, family's secrets surfaced like angry waves, shaking their fragile foundations. During a family meeting, they finally confronted their financial struggles and emotional scars. Their discussions brought tears to Martha's eyes as they spoke raw truths, realizing that it was their love, not the balance in their checking account, that mattered most. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as they began to find common ground, whispers spread through town. Once viewed with admiration, Martha's family now faced disdain as their financial status became a topic of whispered judgment. Could love overcome the cultural rifts? Just when it all seemed to unravel, Emily made a fateful decision that could shatter their bond forever. Would Martha's dreams of rallying support break apart under the weight of rising tensions? With raw emotions tethered on the edge, Martha stood ready for a fight for love, dignity, and the family she'd fought so hard for. Would they rise together, or would societal expectations pull them apart once and for all? Martha sat alone at the kitchen table, the old wooden surface worn from years of meals shared and stories told. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting a warm glow on the walls, but it did little to lift the heaviness in her heart. She stared at the pie cooling on the counter, its golden crust a stark reminder of the tradition she cherished. Baking had always been her refuge, a sweet escape. Yet now, the joy had been replaced by a deep-seated worry over her family's future. Emily's decision gnawed at her mind. That evening, through muffled sobs, Emily had confessed that she'd been offered a job in the city, a chance to break free from their struggles. "It's just a few months," Emily had said, desperation in her eyes. "I'd save up and then we could finally find a better home." But Martha feared that escape might only drive a wedge between them. Jake had watched them quietly, his youthful innocence unable to comprehend the brewing storm. He often sensed the tension, but he couldn't articulate the confused emotions swirling inside him. Martha feared for his small heart. Would he blame himself if their risks turned to regrets? As days went by, the tension in the house escalated. Emily often left for late nights at a local diner, pouring her heart into strangers rather than the family sitting just a few rooms away. Martha tried calling her back. "We need to talk." But those words felt childish now. What did they even have to talk about? Emily was already on the cusp of a life Martha feared would break them apart. Martha turned to her baking as an outlet. Every pie and cobbler became a balm for her aching heart. She baked for the town, hosting a community event that aimed to celebrate their collective struggles. "Together we can rise," she would chant as she served slices of her beloved pecan pie, the rich flavor hoping to forge connections stronger than the gossip that now surrounded her family. The day of the gathering, folks turned out. Laughter echoed in the park just as it had during years past. Yet, in the back of her mind, Martha held on to a faint hope, wondering if Emily would show up. They needed to be united, to remind each other of their roots. As the crowd dwindled and the sun began to set, she caught sight of a familiar face. Jake, holding a patch of wildflowers in his tiny hand, ran up to her. "Grandma. Look what I found." His wide grin lit up her world, if only for a moment. "What a beautiful bouquet," she exclaimed, kneeling down to embrace him tightly. "You picked these for me?" "Yeah. I wanted you to be happy." His innocent proclamation tugged at her heartstrings, a reminder of the love she fought so hard to preserve. But just as hope fluttered back in, she noticed Emily at the edge of the park, arms crossed, looking on. The weight of untold stories hung between mother and daughter. Would Emily choose to join her by the pie table, or would the drawing allure of her dreams in the city keep her away? With each second that passed, Martha felt urgency spill through her veins. "Emily, come here," she called, the words a mixture of desperation and heartfelt longing. But would her call be enough to bridge the expanding rift? Would Emily hear the love entwined in her plea, or would the distance disappear into silence, leaving Martha in a turmoil of unspoken fears? In that electric moment, as mother and daughter stood on opposite sides of possibility, a choice loomed large between them. Would they find their way back to each other, or would the allure of better prospects blind them to the love that grounded them all along? Martha's heart raced as she saw Emily's gaze shift from the park's lively crowd to her own outstretched arms. Time seemed to stand still, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. Jake tugged at her skirt, his little fingers asking for reassurance. "Is she coming, Grandma?" His voice was soft, filled with childlike hope. "Just wait and see, sweetheart," Martha replied, forcing a smile. But inside, a storm brewed, filled with doubt and fear. Would Emily be brave enough to close the gap? Would she turn her back on everything they had? Emily stood there, her arms crossed tightly against her chest, the shadows of the setting sun casting an unsure light on her face. Her expression was a mix of turmoil and stubbornness, a reflection of the choices she was grappling with. This was not just about a job, it was about leaving behind the familiar, embarking on a journey that could reshape their lives forever. "I can't," Emily suddenly shouted, breaking the silence with a voice that trembled. "I just can't do this anymore, Mom." The hurt in her words sliced through the air. Martha felt the sting like a physical blow. "Emily, please," Martha pleaded, her throat tightening. "We need to talk. I'm scared." "Scared? You think you're scared?" Emily's face flushed with emotion. "You don't know what it's like. I just want a life beyond this place. I'm tired of feeling trapped." The last word echoed, reverberating through the hearts of everyone lingering around. A few neighbors looked on, unsure how to react. Martha stayed quiet for a moment, wrestling with her own fears of abandonment. "But what about Jake? What about us?" she finally managed to utter. The thought of her grandson growing up without Emily, without their family intact, twisted her insides. Jake's eyes widened as he glanced between them, trying to piece together what was happening. "Can't we all go together?" he chirped, his innocence a contrast to the tension filling the air. "I bet the city has pies too. We can bake together." Emily's resolve faltered, just for a moment. A soft smile broke through her stormy demeanor, but soon the clouds returned. Buddy, it's not just about pies. It's about a chance. Martha felt the weight of those words, recognizing that Emily believed the city promised something she couldn't find at home, a way out of their struggles. It fueled a fire of urgency and fear. And what about what we have here, Emily? Our memories, our family? We built this life together. Are you really willing to walk away from that? The tension hovered like a thick fog, wrapped tightly around them. Emily opened her mouth, then closed it, eyes flickering with indecision. Martha could see the conflict dancing in her daughter's eyes. I don't want to lose you, Martha whispered, her voice trembling. But I can't make you stay. At that moment, something shifted. The park had grown eerily quiet. Nearby children paused their play, sensing the gravity in the air. Emily took a breath, a deep one, almost as if she was summoning courage. I don't know what to do, Emily finally admitted, her voice cracking. It was a soft surrender that broke Martha's heart, yet filled it with the tiniest glimmer of hope. Let us figure it out together, Martha whispered, the warmth of her love wrapping around both of them. Just then, Jake stepped closer, standing bravely between his mother and grandmother. As they stood there, shadows dancing in the twilight, could they really find their way back to each other? Or would the road ahead take them further apart than they ever anticipated? In that moment of choice, another possibility loomed in the distance, one neither had anticipated. What if the city held more than Emily's escape? What if it held a way forward together? Martha's breath caught as she noticed the subtle shift in Emily's body language. The rigidness began to soften, the anger layer peeling away to reveal the confusion and hurt beneath. It was a faint crack in Emily's facade, a moment where the truth stood on the brink of spilling forth. Mom, I don't want to feel trapped. Emily's voice was quieter now, her stubbornness yielding to vulnerability. I want to chase my dreams. I want more than what this little town offers. But I hate that it means leaving you both behind. Chasing dreams shouldn't mean leaving us behind, Martha replied, wishing she could gather all her fears and turn them into something more hopeful. What if we dream together? Jake looked up at Emily, his innocent eyes filled with trust. Can we? Can we dream together? He asked, holding on to the idea with a hope that seemed to shimmer in the dim light of the setting sun. That flicker of innocence hung in the air, stirring something deep within Emily. But what does that even look like? She challenged, crossing her arms again, though now her stance felt fragile. I'm afraid we'll end up losing everything. The crowd around them resumed their activities, the world moving forward while they stood frozen in this pivotal moment. Emily glanced away again, eyes swimming with unshed tears. Martha stepped closer, her heart aching for the child she once knew, who now stood before her, battling adult choices. What if I came with you? Martha suggested suddenly, the words spilling out before she could think too much about them. It felt revolutionary, pure madness, even, but with every blink of Emily's wide eyes, Martha felt the surge of courage grow stronger. We can find a place in the city together. We can bake pies there, too. Emily blinked. Mom, you'd really do that? Of course, Martha smiled, the warmth of connection filling the air. I think we should explore this together, wherever it leads. I can't promise it'll be easy, but I'll promise to be right by your side. Emily lowered her head, a conflict playing out on her face. For a heartbeat, Martha saw hope flare in her daughter's eyes. Then it faded into uncertainty. But that could change everything. What if I'm making a huge mistake? Maybe mistakes are just lessons waiting to be learned, Martha said gently. We've faced tough times before. We can face this one. Together. Jake, feeling the weight of the conversation, chimed in, and I can show you the best pie shops. Plus, we can have so many adventures. His small frame practically bounced with enthusiasm, lightening the tension that blanketed their moment. As Emily pondered their words, Martha felt her own heart swell with a tentative hope. Would they be able to find a way forward as a family, with dreams intertwined and fears shared? The sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow that seemed to beckon them toward unknown possibilities. Emily nodded slowly, the decision beginning to settle in. Okay, we'll think about it. All of us. Martha felt a wave of relief wash over her. They weren't out of the woods yet, but the shadows that had threatened to pull them apart were beginning to lighten. They had taken the first step back toward each other. But even as they stood in that moment, a new reality awaited them, a reality that would test their bonds more than ever before. What awaited them in the city, and would the ties of this fragile reunion hold strong through the struggles ahead? The following days flew by in a whirlwind of preparations and emotions. Martha felt her heart dance between excitement and fear. She watched Emily slowly embrace the idea of leaving, packing her belongings while sharing fleeting smiles over inside jokes. Yet, beneath it all, was a layer of tension stitched with uncertainty. As their departure date neared, every inch of their home echoed with memories: the smell of cinnamon from past baking sessions, laughter spilling from the kitchen, and the soft murmur of whispers shared between mother and daughter. But now, those walls, once so welcoming, felt like a cage. Emily stood at the brink of stepping into the unknown, and the thought twisted uncomfortably in Martha's chest. The night before they were set to leave, the three of them gathered for dinner. It was the kind of meal that never felt complete without an extra slice of pie on the table. As Martha served them both, she couldn't help but notice how the weight of their choices hung heavily in the air. "Tonight's pie is special," she said, voice quivering slightly as she placed the dish down, "because it's made with all the love I have for you too." Emily smiled but then turned her gaze, staring into the cooling dessert. "What if we change, Mom? What if on the other side of this is just emptiness?" Jake piped up, his hopeful voice breaking the tension. "Or more great pie shops. Do we know how many? Like, 1,000,000. He giggled, attempting to lighten the mood. Frustration bubbled up in Emily. "This isn't just about pie, Jake. This is our lives. Everything is about to change." Martha watched her daughter wrestle with the intensity of those words. "Change is scary, but it can also be beautiful," she reassured Emily softly. "Like when we made that pie with the strange fruit that turned out so good. We didn't think it would work, but it became one of our favorites." Emily sighed, the weight of the moment pressing into her. "But what if we lose what's right here in the process? This is all I've ever known." "True," Martha replied gently. "But what if we also gain new experiences, friends, adventures? We could become more than just the three of us in this cozy house. We could be the dreamers we've always talked about." A flicker sparked in Emily's hazel eyes, a spark that seemed hesitant to ignite. "Mom, you worry too. You've built this life for us, leaving might mean breaking it down." Tears brimmed in Martha's eyes. "That's the risk we take," she said with a firmness that surprised them both. "We can't live in the shadow of fear. We must step into the light, no matter how daunting it feels." Jake, sensing the heaviness, wrapped his arms around both of them. "No matter what, we'll be together," he said simply. His innocent confidence wrapped around them like a warm blanket, grounding them. As they finished the meal, silence swelled in the room, heavy with possibility. Martha realized they had been given a gift wrapped in uncertainty. They just needed to unwrap it together. "Tomorrow, we face the world," she declared, the resolve in her voice settling around them. Together. But as the evening fell into night, a message flashed across Emily's phone, a reminder of the friends she was leaving behind. It was a picture of them, laughing, living, just days before. A reminder of bittersweet ties still tugging at her heart. Would she really be able to say goodbye and forge ahead, or would the past draw her back? And in that moment of decision, as they turned in for the night, the weight of unspoken fears loomed, revealing the storm brewing beyond their sanctuary. What lay ahead wasn't just a new life filled with dreams, but a test of their resilience, the first chapter waiting with foes unseen and friendships to discover. Would they break under pressure or emerge renewed and stronger? The morning light streamed through the curtains, casting soft shadows over the room. Emily lay awake, her mind racing with potential outcomes, like a river swollen with rain. The lingering embrace of last night's emotions clung to her. She could still feel her mother's tears and Jake's innocent warmth around her. Today wasn't just a departure, it was a leap into the unknown. As Martha bustled in the kitchen, the aroma of coffee mingled with the scent of fresh bacon. Familiar comforts punctured the anxiety hanging over the day. She called out, "Breakfast is ready. Last meal at home before the adventure." Emily dragged herself from bed, the knot in her stomach tightening as she made her way downstairs. Each step echoed her lack of readiness. The house, with its warm tones and familiar nooks, felt like a lifeline she was about to cut. She sat at the table, surrounded by plates filled with her favorite foods. But today, none of it seemed to satisfy her. Jake, unbothered by the weight of the day, chattered away about what he hoped to find in their new city. "I want to see raccoons. And I bet they have parks with swings bigger than ours." His enthusiasm was infectious, a shield against the somberness that loomed between Emily and Martha. "Of course they do. And think of all the new friends you'll make," Martha said, her smile strained but genuine. She needed Jake's joy, needed to feel that everything would be okay. As she served Jake another slice of bacon, Martha's phone buzzed. She glanced down at the screen. It was a message from the movers confirming their arrival time. Reality hit her like a cold wind. They were really leaving. She felt a quick jolt of panic, but she swallowed it down. This was about moving forward, a chance to embrace something new. After breakfast, they began to load the last boxes into the car. Each item that left the house felt like a tiny piece of their history being set adrift. Emily bit her lip as she passed her favorite stuffed bear to Jake. It hit her suddenly, once they left, this place would belong wholly to someone else. "Do you think the new people will love it like we did?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I hope they do. Then we can leave happy memories behind us." Jake responded, oblivious to the depth of her sadness. Martha touched Emily's shoulder gently. "It's okay to feel this way. It means you loved this place." As they stood there, taking in the sight of their home one last time, Emily felt tears well in her eyes. What if we can't make new memories? She wondered aloud. "You will. And I will. It's just a different chapter, not the end of the book," Martha replied. Just then, Jake raced to the car, almost dragging the others along with him. "Not the end. The beginning," he chanted, his voice glimmering with the excitement of a new adventure. Emily couldn't help but smile at her brother's energy. It was contagious, pulling her along. But in that moment, as they closed the trunk and secured their belongings, a penetrating thought struck her. What if she discovered something within herself that the bare walls of their old home had never allowed to flourish? The car began to pull away from the driveway, and as she glanced through the back window, the finality of the goodbye rushed over her. The house faded from view, and in that instant, she was caught between longing for the past and anticipation for what lay ahead. As they turned onto the main road, an unexpected nervous energy bubbled up inside Emily. The city they were heading to was an unknown land, filled with more than just the potential for great adventures but also for growth. Would she find the courage to embrace it? But then, a sudden thought slipped into her mind, echoing in her heart. Would she discover a part of herself she never knew existed? And as the skyline of their new home came into view, Emily leaned forward, heart pounding, ready to face whatever awaited them, unaware of the surprising twists fate had in store. What would she discover about herself when the camera shifted from her past to her future? Would her heart open to new friendships, ones that felt just as strong as the ones she left behind? The road stretched ahead of them, winding through the golden fields and rolling hills, but all Emily could see was the blur of memories, moments that flickered like an old film reel in her mind. Each mile marker felt heavy, dragging emotions to the surface. She turned her gaze to Jake, still babbling about imaginary parks and dream raccoons. His chatter, unwavering and innocent, grounded her. "Will they have swings like clouds?" he asked, his eyes glimmering with wonder. Emily laughed lightly, the tension in her chest releasing just a bit. "Maybe even swings made of clouds, buddy." Her smile felt delicate, like an ice sculpture at the edge of melting, and she hoped it would hold. Martha drove with an air determined yet fragile. The familiar hum of the car momentarily filled the silence, creating a comforting cocoon as they traversed further into unknown territory. Emily watched her mother's fingers dance nervously on the steering wheel. She wanted to reach out, reassure her, but words slipped just out of grasp. After what felt like hours, they arrived at the new house, a quaint brick bungalow set against tall oak trees. As they stepped out of the car, Emily felt a new wave of uncertainty rise within her. The house, just like their old one but devoid of memories, stood waiting, silent and expectant. Holding her breath, she took in its weary charm. Faded paint flaked ever so slightly, promising stories of the past if one listened closely. Jake, always the bravest among them, bounded toward the door, practically dragging Martha behind him. "This is our home now. Come on, Emily." He squealed, his enthusiasm sparking something deep inside her, a flicker of hope perhaps. A tentative smile crept across Emily's face as she followed. The threshold loomed ahead, and for a brief moment, she hesitated. What lay inside? Would it feel like opening a book nobody had read? Would she find a chapter waiting to be written, or an echo of loneliness? "I'll race you," Jake yelled, his laughter ringing like a bell, breaking through the weight of her thoughts. His challenge jolted her forward. With a laugh, she joined him, pushing through the door with renewed determination. The air inside was stale yet welcoming, something akin to an embrace from an old friend who had been waiting patiently. "Look at the size of this living room," Jake shouted, leading the way. He dashed around, arms outstretched, as if he could fill the empty space with joy. Emily followed him, curiosity blooming within her. There were bare walls, a soft beige color that yearned for warmth. In that moment, she felt an electric whisper of potential. The blank canvas offered endless possibilities. Each wall could hold the photographs of shared laughter, the vibrant colors of her mother's artwork, and perhaps even something new, the friendships and stories yet to come. "Do you want to help me pick a color for the walls?" Emily asked suddenly, turning to her mother, who was surveying the room with a contemplative gaze. Martha looked over at Emily, surprised but touched. "Oh, I'd love to. What do you think we should choose?" A glimmer sparked in her mother's eyes, reminiscent of the light they both used to share at home. In that moment, Emily realized that this wasn't just a house, it was an opportunity, a blank page for their next chapter. As they moved from room to room, ideas bounced between them like fireflies in the summer night. Emily felt herself shedding layers of doubt. This place was not just a replacement, it could be their sanctuary. Just then, a sudden sound from outside drew their attention. A group of kids, running and laughing, was playing tag in the front yard. Emily's heart raced with both excitement and fear. Would they accept her? Would joining them mean leaving a part of herself behind? "Hey, maybe we can join them after we unpack," Jake suggested brightly. Emily smiled, but a twinge of fear lingered at the edges of her mind. Could she find her place among them? She wanted to say yes, to embrace this adventure, but her heart hesitated. It was the uncharted territory that ignited both terror and thrill within her. What new beginnings were waiting just beyond that threshold of unfamiliar laughter? And as they started to unpack, a nagging question floated around her: would she have the courage to step beyond the past and leap into this new world? As the last box slid into the living room, Emily caught a glimpse of herself in the dusty mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. It wasn't just the dust that clouded her reflection, it was the swirl of emotions battling inside her. She brushed her fingers across the surface, wishing she could wipe away the doubts that clung to her. She was at the edge, teetering between past pain and the hope of new beginnings. Jake was still buzzing with excitement, darting back and forth with items from the car. "Look, I found my baseball glove," he shouted, his face brightening as if he'd discovered gold. His joy was contagious. She couldn't help but smile. It was moments like this that reminded her of the pure light a child brings to darkness. "Don't forget your toys, Jake," Martha called out, her voice filled with warmth, yet the slight tremor betrayed her nerves. With every box they unpacked and each new item laid out, Emily felt a little more rooted in this unfamiliar space. They decided on bright blue for one wall, imagining the way it would dance in the sunlight. Laughter bubbled up between them like a soft melody, blending with the sounds of distant laughter outside. "Let us paint something fun on the wall. Maybe a sun?" Jake suggested, clasping his hands together, eyes wide with possibility. Absolutely. Emily swung her gaze to her mother, who nodded in agreement, the corners of her mouth lifting just a bit. Maybe we can turn the room into a whole sky. Yes. And we can hang some glow-in-the-dark stars. Jake was practically bouncing now, his innocence igniting a flicker of enthusiasm in Emily's heart, but then an unsettling thought snaked its way back in. What if it never truly felt like home? The corners of her mind twisted, taking her back to the echo of harsh words and moments that felt stolen from her. Flickers of bullying memories haunted her, snickers behind her back, the feeling of being on the outside, never quite fitting in. Emily, you okay? Martha's voice pulled her from the shadows of her thoughts. Yeah, just thinking. She forced a smile, but Martha knew her too well. The scrutiny in her mother's gaze made Emily want to dissolve into the floor. Let's take a break and go check out those kids outside, Martha suggested, her voice soft. It might be fun. Jake leaped to the window, peering out. Yeah. See on, Emily. It'll be great. Taking a deep breath, Emily followed him to the door. Each step felt weighted. What if she faced the same old worries? What if she went out and no one wanted to be her friend? They stepped into the sunlight, and an eruption of laughter enveloped them, music to both their ears. The kids were wild and free, chasing each other like the wind. Jake dashed off, joining effortlessly, laughter spilling from his lips. Emily watched him, her heart swelling with pride mingled with a heavy lurch of anxiety. She stood still for a moment, absorbing the vibrant energy surrounding her. It was exhilarating and terrifying. Hey! You wanna play? One of the kids shouted, waving her over. His infectious grin cut through the noise of her uncertainty. Emily hesitated, but Jake was already racing over. The urge to join him pulled at her, and she felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff, taking a valiant step forward. She approached more slowly than Jake, her heart thumping in her chest. Would they accept her? Could she find a spark of happiness here? Fingers crossed, she squared her shoulders and took that first step. The laughter beckoned. Maybe the rough-edged past would recede like waves pulling back from the shore, leaving behind something fresh and new. As she stepped into the fray, a mixture of anticipation and fear swirled inside her. Could this be the moment she began to weave her own story among the laughter? But as the energy surged around her, a voice whispered that not all chapters come easily. What awaited her now in this vibrant, new world? Emily took a deep breath as she stepped forward, the sounds of laughter enveloping her like a warm embrace. A group of kids kicked up blades of grass, their shouts mixing with the chirps of birds overhead. She watched Jake sprint toward them, his enthusiasm a bright flame that seemed to pull everyone in. Come on, Emily! Jake shouted, glancing back, his face glowing with pure joy. The way his smile lit up his whole being sent a spark of courage through Emily. She was at the edge of something new, and she could either choose to leap or back away slowly into the shadows. Hey! We're playing tag. The boy who had called her over shouted again, his grin like a beacon. His brown hair was tousled, a testament to his energy and carefree spirit. You should join us. The anxious knot in Emily's stomach tightened. Part of her felt like the shy girl she'd been in her old town, the one who always hung back, unsure if she belonged. But she couldn't let that fear win. Not today. With every step she took, the warmth of the sun on her skin chased away her doubts. Okay, I'll play. Emily called, forcing a smile as she approached the group. They cheered, the sound filling the air, and for a moment, her heart raced not from fear, but from exhilaration. Jake rushed to her side. You'll be awesome, Em. Just run. As the game started, the children zigzagged across the lawn, laughter echoing around them like music. Emily dashed after them, feeling like a kid again, free and untethered. She could hear their cheers, feel the wind whip through her hair. It was electric, yet as she chased after Jake, an old memory crept back in those moments on the playground where the laughter hadn't included her. The kids who looked through her, the whispers that cut deeper than any tag. Fear fluttered back briefly, whispering that this joy might be fleeting, but she shook it off, focusing on the now. She didn't want to let that past dictate who she could be. With the sun shining bright, she chased Jake harder, her laughter mingling with his, the sound washing over her insecurities. After several rounds of tag, they flopped onto the grass, panting. Emily lay back, staring up at the limitless blue sky. Maybe this could be her sky, too. Did you see how fast I ran? Jake grinned, rolling onto his side to look at her, breathless. Yeah. You were amazing. Emily couldn't help but smile. His excitement was so contagious, filling up the gaps of her own uncertainty. But then, from across the yard, she noticed a small pocket of kids huddled together, watching her with curious yet guarded eyes. The waves of laughter faded into a whisper as she felt their stares, her heart sinking. Who is she? One girl murmured, her expression wary. Yeah, I've never seen her before, another piped up, arms crossed. The warmth that had surrounded Emily just moments ago felt like it was slipping away. Doubts clawed their way back. What if they ended up like the others? Her skin prickled, and for a moment, she felt that old fear gripping her again. Jake noticed and climbed to his feet, brushing grass from his clothes. Forget them. Can you believe the height of that tree? It's so climbable. He exclaimed, his unfiltered enthusiasm an anchor for her swirling emotions. Before she could respond, he dashed toward the tree, leaving her by herself with the whispers swirling in her mind. Could she handle the unknown? Could she risk her heart again? As Emily stood there, torn between hunting down that bright adventure and the re-emerging doubts, one question hollowed out her bravado. Would she have the strength to face both the shadows of her fears and the light of newfound joy? A wave of apprehension washed over her again. She looked towards Jake, laughing as he began to climb. If he could embrace the next adventure, could she? But little did she know, a shadow loomed in the crowd, ready to challenge her resolve. What lay ahead for Emily as the whispers grew louder around her, threatening to drown out her new beginning? Emily took a deep breath, steadying herself against an invisible tide of anxiety that pulled at her. As the laughter of the kids harmonized with her heartbeat, she reminded herself of the strength that had brought them all here. She had chosen to step into this new world, a world filled with potential and promise. The sun beat down warmly, and with every excited shout from Jake, the courage began to seep back into her veins. Watching him scramble up the large tree, she felt a flicker of inspiration. His spirit was unbroken, and maybe hers didn't have to be either. She wanted to be the sister he believed she could be, if only for a moment. She took a step toward the children gathered nearby, anxiety gnawing at her heart. The air between them was thick with uncertainty, but maybe she could shift it, just a little. The girl who had spoken earlier looked at her, curiosity unfolding beneath the wary expression. Emily squared her shoulders and offered a tentative smile. I'm Emily. I just moved here, and I'd love to see what being a kid around here is all about, she said, her voice firm and inviting. The girl with crossed arms exchanged glances with her friends, hesitating before breaking into a tentative smile of her own. I'm Maya, she offered, the tension lifting slightly. Come join us then. Whoever tags you has to do a silly dance. Maya exclaimed, her voice brightening the mood. Emily's heart lifted at the shift, and she felt like the weight on her shoulders lightened a fraction. Really? I'm terrible at dancing, but sure. Emily laughed, her nerves starting to settle. Together, they dashed after the boys, Emily racing alongside them. Laughter replaced the cold grip of fear with every step. As she ran, she relished the feeling, the unparalleled joy of no longer being an outsider. When Emily tagged Maya, the planning began for the silly dance competition. Jake swung down from the tree with a proud grin, joining the circle and inviting everyone to join him. Even the hesitant kids exchanged shy smiles. Just like that, the barriers began to dissolve, laughter echoing in their wake. Emily found herself in the middle of the circle, arms and legs flailing, caught up in the infectious silliness. For a second, she forgot about the insecurities that haunted her. This moment felt like a mosaic, each laugh a brilliant tile, piecing together her story of resilience and courage. Suddenly, a voice rang out from behind her, an older boy sneering, "Why is the new girl trying to fit in? She'll never be one of us." The laughter faltered, and Emily froze, panic racing back in like an unwelcome tide. But then she turned, glancing at Jake, who looked determined and blissfully unaware of the threat. Because she just did. Jake shouted back defiantly, pointing toward Emily, and the laughter resumed, even getting louder. The air shifted again, the weight being nudged to the side. With each kid joining in, Emily stood taller, filled with renewed strength. Her heart beat proudly, pulsing with a wild spirit that burned brighter now than the insecurities left behind. As the sun dipped low, they ran, joining hands in a raucous display of joy, each leap feeling more like liberation than play. Emily realized how much she wanted to be here, wanted to fight for this connection. This could be a new start. It was already turning into a celebration of belonging. That night, as they settled into their new home, a sense of warmth enveloped Emily. She glanced at Martha and Jake, both equally fatigued yet glowing with joy. The fears and doubts that had haunted her for weeks felt muted under the weight of something new, a sense of hope blossoming like wildflowers in spring. "Mom, I'm so glad we moved," Emily said, the words spilling out with a smile that stretched beyond her lips, reaching into her heart. Martha beamed back. "Me too, honey. We're going to form new memories here. Just wait and see." And as darkness fell, the glow from their laughter lingered, illuminating their way forward, a new chapter, crafted right then and there, full of love, family, and the freedom to dream with. That realization, Emily knew one thing for sure: this would be a journey worth fighting for. It wasn't just about living in the light, it was about embracing every shadow along their path, transforming the pain of the past into the backbone of a radiant future. So, what are you waiting for? You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss out on more amazing stories like this one. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and give us that boost. Comment below your reactions and feelings about how Emily transformed her life. And don't you dare hesitate, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who really need to see this transformation. Your support means everything, and every action counts. Don't wait not even one more second to share.